Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the day before the election. Everything's insane. There is a spattering of crazy news. People are losing their minds. This is it. And right now we got a lot of news, but we're going to start here with this story from Selzer. Trump says Selzer Iowa poll is suppression and should be illegal. For those that didn't see the news, what happened is a poll came out from Selzer and the New York Times basically saying that Kamala Harris is doing really well in swing states, and namely with the Selzer poll, that she is up in Iowa. Now, okay, Nate Silver says clearly someone's going to be wrong, but let me just break it down for you. Nobody knows. Nobody has any idea. I think one of the most interesting things happening right now with the polls, Nate Silver is saying that most of the pollsters are hurting. That is to say, they're scared to come out with outlier polls because people will make fun of them, much like Selzer. If they come out with a poll that shows Trump is clearly ahead, people are going to say, you must be wrong. Your data must be bad because no one else found those results. That's literally what's happening here at the New York Times and Selzer. Nate Silver points out the New York Times doesn't seem to care if their polls are outliers. They just put out the data. And Selzer shows something that makes literally no sense, and it may just be a bad poll. I don't know that I would agree that it should be illegal, but the talking point coming out right now from most Trump supporters, in fact, is maybe not anything specific, but polls showing Donald Trump losing are a psyop intended to convince you not to vote. I got news for you, ladies and gentlemen. We do have data suggesting men are voting nearly 10 points less than women in early voting. Maybe it's because they don't want to take off work. I don't know. Whatever the reason is, men need to turn out. I believe it was the CEO of Atlas Intel, who many say is the most accurate pollster of 2020. He says, if men turn out in Pennsylvania, Trump wins this election. Polymarket betting odds have shifted heavily towards Kamala Harris. Everybody thinks they've got the answers. Democrats are convinced they're going to win. They're saying the polls overcorrected in 2020 because they're scared. People on the right are saying early voting data is showing a Trump victory, but maybe this early vote is cannibalizing day of election votes. I got no idea, my friends. I don't know what to tell you. What I can only say is smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. We are coming to you from Daily Wire Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, where we'll be doing an amazing live show tomorrow starting at, I believe we're going to go live at 6 p.m. Eastern. It might be earlier than that. I don't know. Eastern, Central, Daylight Savings Times. We're all screwed up here, right? But we're going to be going live till about the 2 in the morning, perhaps. And I say perhaps because it's 2 or 3 in the morning, whatever ends up happening. We don't know what's going to happen. We have no idea. I'm hoping. Here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that all of you go out and vote. You go out, you cast your votes where you can, you vote early. Because a lot of people are saying, Tim, why vote early? What's the point? Well, look, I'm not a big fan of voting month or anything, but this is the game that we're playing right now. These are the rules. If on election day you show up and there's a problem with your ballot, they say you've already voted, they offer you a provisional ballot, or maybe a water main breaks, you may not be able to get your vote in time. Now, I'm not suggesting don't go vote or anything. I'm saying this is why you have to vote early. But my friends, let me just stress, go and vote no matter what. Come hell or high water, you must go vote. Are you in California? It's a blue state. You don't think Trump can win? Go and vote because Trump needs the popular vote. That means you in California, your vote matters. It matters a lot. You live in West Virginia, you know Trump's going to win, go and vote. The popular vote is the cultural and social victory that we need to tell the crackpot cult far left, we reject your ideas. I will say this, shout out to Scott Presler. If Trump does win Pennsylvania, it's because Scott Presler has done the back-breaking ground game work that needed to be done. But let's start here, my friends. Become a member over at timcast.com, smash that like button, share the show, follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Here's the story starting off from Newsweek. Trump says Selzer Iowa poll is suppression and should be illegal. Oh, geez. Okay, let's get the context here because they said, Trump called out CBS and said they edited Kamala Harris's interview and that should be illegal. And then the media comes out and says Trump said that interviewing Kamala Harris should be illegal. He never did. That never said it. Newsweek says, former President Donald Trump has branded top Iowa pollster Selzer a Trump hater and described her weekend poll, which put Kamala Harris ahead of him by 3 points, as suppression. Yes, but in Iowa. Like, in what reality is this? Does this make sense? Can I show you this viral meme here? This Bashir Stan. It's got 1.9 million views on X, and it says, Iowa according to Ann Selzer, apparently. And it's a goth woman driving a tractor. I do not believe that's reality, but sure. Newsweek goes on to say, the Republican nominees had the poll, which showed Harris leading in the Hawkeye state despite Trump winning. We are recording. Can you please? I'm in the middle of recording. Can you go? You need to go. Okay. Anyway, the Republican nominees at the poll, which showed Harris leading in the Hawkeye state despite Trump winning its last election, should be illegal, claiming it was designed to suppress the Republican vote on Election Day. The poll showed Harris leading by 3% in Iowa, giving the Democrats some much-needed momentum in the Midwest as the election comes to a close. The poll conducted between October 28th through the 31st found that 47% of likely voters would choose the vice president if the election were held on the day they were surveyed, while 44% of voters said they would choose Trump. Several of Seltzer's polls have been accurate historically with correct predictions in the 2008, 2012, and 2016 elections. However, that didn't stop Trump from rejecting the numbers, saying on Truth Social over the weekend that the poll was run by a Trump hater who called it totally wrong the last time. In 2020, Selzer predicted Trump would win Iowa with 48% to Biden's 41%, with the final result turnout at 53.1 to 44.9. Now, I do have a video for you, which kind of breaks down where we're currently at with this Selzer woman and why. I'm sorry, look, I honestly have no idea what's going to happen. I'm not going to make any predictions. I wish I could. I just can't. But in this video, we have this pro-America politics says, when asked to explain her own polls crosstabs, Ann Selzer says, what does this D and R represent? So here's a lady who's been doing polls for several decades. And she's saying she doesn't know what D and R mean. I'm not kidding. It's 26 seconds. Enjoy it.
Are you able to put up that tweet? Maybe it's up and I can't see it because it's up. It's up. All right, Ann, are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay. Could you just go through and say what you think about those criticisms?
Well, I'm trying. This is in a format that's a little difficult for me to see. What does this D represent and the R represent?
D. Noah, are you able to?
I in all seriousness, I think that something happened over the past couple of years where the collective IQ of many people just dropped off. I don't know why. I'm not kidding either. Let me ask you guys this, and comment. Let me know what you think. I'm genuinely interested to know this. I know people. I've known people for years, and I feel like they were very smart. Something happened in the Trump era, whatever you want to call it, where it seems like their ability to understand reality has ceased. Here is a lady who has done polls for several decades. And she's like, what does this D and R represent? Now, of course, people are saying, no, you can't blame her because she doesn't do partisan polls. She's thinking Trump and Harris, not Democrat, Republican. Dude, I'm sorry. If someone came to me and said, here's a poll and there's D and there's R, I'd be like, is this Democrat, Republican? D plus 3, R plus 8. That's absolutely amazing. She's like, what does D and R mean? She doesn't know. Yikes, man. Now, whether or not the poll should be illegal, I don't know. Probably not if it's a legitimate poll, but I got to be honest, I just don't trust the corporate press in what they're saying. I'm sure Trump actually said something quite a bit else, and they're excluding it. At a campaign rally in Pennsylvania, Trump referenced the poll in his speech, saying it's called suppression. They suppress, and it actually should be illegal. The Trump campaign doubled down on these statements, releasing a memo that read, on Saturday, top Democrats appear to have received early access to an absurd outlier poll of Iowa conducted by the Des Moines Register. Not to be outdone, the New York Times arrived right on cue with another set of polling data being used to drive a voter suppression narrative against President Trump supporters. Quote, some in the media are choosing to amplify a mad dash to dampen and diminish voter enthusiasm. It has not worked. Our voters are like President Trump. They fight. Okay, well, sure. In a statement responding to the backlash over the surprising numbers, showing a Harris landslide, Selzer told Newsweek, these are the kinds of comments seen for virtually any poll, including mine. The Des Moines Register includes a methodology statement with each story they publish. It's just, here's the crazy thing. You're nuts if you think this poll is true. I'm just sorry. It's absolutely incorrect. Okay. We have this. Let me see if I can find the early. This meme is funny. The early polling numbers. Free State Will on X says this will go down as the worst Selzer poll in history. The 2024 early voting shows Republicans had in Iowa compared to a 12-point deficit in 2020. So what I've heard across the board is that already with early voting, Republicans are winning. Right now, Republicans have the advantage, even by a single point. Who knows? But she's saying Harris has an advantage. Now, there's a possibility. There is. It's Republican returns versus Democrat returns. There could be independents overwhelmingly voting for Kamala Harris. Now, I've got this from the Silver Bulletin, Nate Silver's assessment on what this all means. But I do want to show you this tweet. Ravi Gupta on X, he's the co-founder of Arena Summit and Branch Media, co-host Majority 54, says, I asked an elected friend of mine from Iowa, rural district, about the Selzer poll, his response. I think it's legit. Anecdotally, things have been great on the doors. The poll shows women being fed up. About a month ago, my buddy's wife asked if I could talk to her book club because they were anxious and wanted to know more about politics. She told me it would be about 5 women. When I showed up, it was 24. I only knew 5 of them. It was one of the coolest organically organized thing I've ever seen. I've been a part of. Most of them were business owners or work at nonprofits, so they can't be vocal and they didn't realize the others were feeling the same way. Since then, we've set up 2 phone banks for them. Does this validate the poll? Who knows? We shall see Tuesday. Fair point. I don't know if these anecdotes are real or not or otherwise. I can only tell you this one thing. What's wrong with believing Kamala Harris is up in Iowa? I know that each and every one of you who fears for what is coming to this country is going to go and vote. The concern may be that middle of the road people who don't like the Democratic Party and don't like the wokeness or whatever may be demoralized. I kind of feel like anybody who's been paying attention is not going to be swayed by being told this stuff. If you are voting for Trump, you are voting because you want something to change, regardless of this poll. CNN already called it. They said there has never been an election where dissatisfaction with the direction of the country has been so high and the incumbent party has won. Let me try and simplify that. CNN ran a story saying 28% of people think the country is going in the right direction. There has never been this low a number of satisfied individuals and an incumbent party winning. One more time, what they're saying is the current polling on the direction of the country indicates a challenger party victory. Not to mention, in aggregate, Donald Trump is winning the battleground states, winning nationally. I do not see anything indicating a Kamala Harris victory other than shadow campaign. So I don't know. And if I come out and make a prediction today, it may not be a good one. I cannot predict. Let me tell you, in 2020, throughout the year, 2019, 2020, I'm saying it looks like a Trump victory. And I'll tell you why. Though the polls were heavily favoring Joe Biden nationally, at the battleground level, what wasn't looking the same. Joe Biden, of course, winning nationally, but that's because, blue states, they're going to vote for Joe Biden. There was a chance Trump would still win the Electoral College. But more importantly, the economy was doing really well pre-COVID. Moody's Analytics, as well as many other forecasters, said it's looking like Trump is going to win this thing, especially against Joe Biden. But we were all wrong. Why? Well, by all means, you can talk about judges and their governors changing the rules, rubber stamping things, universal mail-in voting. I think those played an outsized role. What I was correct about was an increase in support for Donald Trump, 10 million more votes. The first time a president got more votes and lost, but the enthusiasm against Trump was massive. You combine that with ballot harvesting, which is legal in most places, and we're talking about ground game that Republicans never saw coming. And I didn't see it coming either. Right now, I can't tell you. Because as much as it looks really good for Trump, the only thing that matters is we cast it aside and you go and vote. That's it. Drown out the noise. Forget everything else. All the murmuring in your ears, all the whispering, who's going to win, who's not going to win, doesn't matter. Your vote is the deciding vote. This election, they say, will be close. In some districts, in some jurisdictions, in some states, last time around, it was tiny votes. Lauren Boebert in the midterms almost lost. It was around 100 votes. That's you. Heaven forbid you wake up on Wednesday morning and they say, wow, one vote could have changed this. And you stayed home. For what reason? For what reason did you not stand up to defend your freedom and your way of life and your country? Take a look at this. Wall Street Silver. Half of the country has already voted. 53% women, 44% men. We need men to show up. Women overwhelmingly vote Democrat. Men overwhelmingly vote Republican. Women vote Democrat more than men. Now, the response I've seen is no. These are rural women and these are liberal men, and they're all coming out. Or I'm sorry, I have it backwards. Liberal men are not coming out. Rural women are coming out. So there are people saying this is good news. I don't know. You just have to go vote. Take a look at this from Nate Silver. Either Ann Selzer and the New York Times are wrong or the rest of the polling industry. Nate says, yesterday I complained about how so many pollsters are hurting by publishing results that are almost an exact tie in a way that is incredibly statistically improbable, given the unavoidable sampling error from serving a small number of voters. I also noted a handful of prominent exceptions. Rogue pollsters like the New York Times, Siena College, that practically exist in an entirely different universe and imply a much bigger political realignment. Another such maverick is an Ann Selzer and New York Times polls. And look at this. Selzer and the New York Times are our two highest rated pollsters. As my former colleague Claire Malone wrote in 2016, Selzer, like New York Times Siena, has a long history of bucking the conventional wisdom and being right. In a world where most pollsters have a lot of egg on their faces, she has near oracular status. Indeed. So Seltzer's new poll of Iowa tonight was highly anticipated by polling junkies, despite Iowa being unlikely to be a decisive state. In June, Seltzer's poll for Des Moines Register showed Trump with an 18-point lead over Biden in Iowa. Surprisingly big. In September, her survey had Kamala Harris just 4 points behind Trump, considered an outlier at the time. Her new poll, it shows the state trending even bluer, with Harris leading in Iowa 47-44. How can any of this make sense? So there's a huge bump for Harris. Nate Silver says he weighs Ann Selzer very highly. Let me tell you how crazy this is. We went out to get dinner last night as we're getting ready for the show and everything. And there was a bartender who knew exactly what was going on with this. What the Selzer poll means for the Electoral College. The short version is that it probably won't matter, at least not in a mechanical sense, where Iowa puts Harris over the top in an election she'd otherwise lose. This morning's update was favorable for Harris, and the election is now almost truly back to being 50-50. But you didn't gain any further ground. He basically goes on to say, let me read. Iowa's far redder than other blue wall states. In our 40,000 simulations tonight, in cases where Harris won Iowa, her average margin of victory or defeat in Wisconsin was plus 6 points, 6.7, plus 6 in Michigan, plus 4 in Pennsylvania. If the Selzer poll is right, she'd be heavily favored in all of them. In other words, conditional on winning Iowa, her chances in Wisconsin are 98%. Pennsylvania is the least safe for the trio, in part because about 2/3 of its population is in what we consider the Northeast, not the Midwest like Iowa. However, if she loses Pennsylvania, Harris has to win both Iowa and some other state, since that's a net loss of 13 electoral votes, adding 6 from the Hawkeye state, but losing 19 in the Keystone. The most plausible case probably involves North Carolina, but it's still quite rare in our simulations. Well, we have a tweet here from Emma Vigeland over at the Majority Report. She says this. She says Harris wins. I don't hope she's right, but man, if she is. She says, my final Electoral College prediction is that Harris sweeps all 7 swing states and ekes out a victory in Iowa. My only reservation is that I don't want to jinx the results, but I'm trying to avoid the trapping of magical thinking. This is my honest assessment. Really? Look, man, I'm happy to be wrong about all of this stuff. That's why I can't really make a prediction. But Emma Vigeland is saying Iowa, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, all go Kamala Harris. Maybe, I guess, but none of the polls are showing this. Top battlegrounds, RCP average right now has Trump up 0.8. He's winning Arizona 2.6 in aggregate. He's winning Nevada by 1 point in aggregate. Pennsylvania 0.3, North Carolina 1.5, Georgia 1.9. Michigan and Wisconsin are leaning towards Harris. No idea how many times you want me to say it. But I don't know how you look at these polls and then draw this conclusion where it's like, she's going to win Iowa. What? I find that laughable. In fact, I'm pretty sure Trump is up 0.1 nationally, indicating there is a potential Trump wins the national popular vote. Now, what happens if he does? I believe that would send a massive rebuke to the far left. It would force a realignment of the Democratic Party. They would have to recognize their ideas are insane. The movie industry is already suffering. Beer companies are already suffering. Everybody has got the message. You lose when you go crackpot far left. But the reality is this. How much do people really care? Do regular working class Joes care enough to come out and say enough? We're tired of the creepy books with adult images being given to kids. We're tired of your weird woke beer. We're tired of movies ruining the plot for some stupid Mary Sue character who has masterful powers despite no character development. We just want merit. We want people who work hard to succeed, and we're tired of your ridiculous policies and your racist ideology. That's right, when they segregate. We don't want that stuff in this country. It only comes to fruition if we prove we care enough to mobilize. Now, right now, more women are voting than men. And that means something. Men need to get out and vote. We don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know what will happen today. But tomorrow's the big day. We've got a lot of plans. My friends, as you've already been aware, because somebody walked in the studio as I'm recording, we're here at the Daily Wire studios. And we're going to be doing the morning show and Timcast IRL live tomorrow night. We are doing a massive major crossover. Daily Wire will be live with their election results. We will also be live, and we're going to have people jumping back and forth, which ways and in between. It's going to be a lot of fun. But, I was talking to the crew over at the Daily Wire, and I said, we'll go live Tuesday. We'll aim for like 5 p.m. to 3 p.m., 2 a.m., I think we said. But that if we're Central Time and they want to start at 5, then we might just shift, and that means 6 p.m. to 3 a.m. or something. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. But then they said to me, what about Wednesday? And I was like, oh, what about Wednesday? If we don't get definitive results on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday or Friday, I don't know what's going to happen. And we traveling here is not easy. So I normally I've been trying to get the weekend segments up, and I wasn't able to because we were like, travel day, just can't do it. I tried. I really did. Wasn't able to muster it up. And that's why we had Phil host IR on Friday, so I could try to, but I was unable. And so I'm talking to the crew, and I'm like, what happens Saturday? What happens if come Saturday we don't have any results? Do we go live again? How do we walk away from this? We have to keep the show going. It is going to be absolutely insane. Now, the last things I'll give you is the simulations favor Trump. 538 says 54 times out of 100 Trump wins. Nate Silver Bulletin still has Trump with a light edge at 51.5, Harris with 41.8, indicating there is a teeny chance of a tie. 0.2 says 538. Poly market shifted heavily back towards Kamala Harris. But I just want to let you guys know, I predicted this. For those that watch the show regularly, I predicted the shift towards Harris. I don't think it means anything. This is a gambling question. Trump being at 65% in poly market was not suggesting it a 65% chance to win. Again, please make sure you listen to things I've been saying in the past. 65% was the favorability among bettors, which means Trump could win by 0.1. But 65% of people saw a slight edge for Trump. Maybe it's the polls. Kamala Harris rebounding in the betting markets is a guarantee. It's called a value bet. If the pollsters keep saying it's 50-50, but people still just believe in their heart of hearts Trump will win, what happens then is someone says a $40 bet wins me $100. That's a value bet. If there is a 10% difference between projections from experts and from the odds, they take the odds. And they may lose, but again, value bet. It's kind of like this. If I told you for $1, you got a 1 in a million chance of winning $1 million, guess what? It's called the lottery. Most people say, I don't really care about the dollar. It's a single dollar. You're probably not going to win, but you don't really miss the dollar. So Kamala Harris was bound to see a rebound from people who are going to start making value bets on a very, very close election. That being said, the Iowa and the New York Times polls favoring Kamala Harris gave her this boost. A lot of people said, okay, this is closing the gap. In my mind, what do I see? I see a Trump victory. But there's a lot of factors I can't predict. I see a Trump victory for a few reasons. Historic iconography. It would be the weirdest thing imaginable if after all the photos of Trump at McDonald's, Trump in a garbage truck, Trump getting shot, raising his fist, praying on the ground, after all of this, shaking RFK Jr.'s hand, the coalition party with Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr., it'd be amazing if he lost. The photo of him shaking hands with RFK with explosions behind him, wow. Historically iconic. But it doesn't mean anything. Iconography is meaningless. It's just kind of crazy that someone who did that would lose. But Kamala Harris is a no-name brand. She has no X factor. Nobody voted for her. How could someone who did not get elected in a primary defeat someone who won a brutal primary? There's a lot of ways. Indeed. In my mind, what I see making the most sense culturally right now is a Trump victory. But I totally recognize I don't know what I don't know. And that's the mistake I made in 2020. I was so sure. I was seeing all of these things. And I'm like, how could you overcome this? Well, maybe there really is something to women voting. Maybe that's it. More women are voting than men, and men complain, but we have weak men in this country, and maybe that was the goal. Maybe the Democrats knew demoralizing and insulting men would get them to sit on the couch and give up. Or maybe it did the inverse. Maybe we'll see something tomorrow where men will be inspired, and then they're going to stand up and they're going to vote. We got more segments coming up throughout the day, so smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member. I'll tell you why. You want to make friends. You want to meet people. You want to share ideas. Timcast.com, sign up and join the Discord server. Tens of thousands of people, no joke, hanging out, sharing ideas, discussing these things. Step 1. If you're wondering how to get involved, how to meet people, how to build something, this is what we got going on. A massive community of people who believe in merit, hard work, and want to succeed and make cool things. You'll also get access to our uncensored members call-in show, Timcast IRL, tonight. That's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern, and you can call in if you're a member. So again, share the show. Thanks for hanging out, and we will be back at 1 p.m., and I say Eastern because we're in Nashville right now. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and we will see you in the next segment.